The silk robe clung to her body like a second skin, catching the dim bedroom light in ways that would drive most men insane. Serafina Sue stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, her back to me, the city skyline glittering behind her like 1,000 judgmental eyes. "You can have my body, but you'll never have my heart." Her voice came out exactly as I'd expected.
Cold. Detached.
The voice of a woman who'd rather be anywhere else on earth than standing in a bedroom she was forced to share with me. I looked up from the glass of Bordeaux I'd been pouring, letting the silence stretch between us like a blade being slowly unsheathed. Then I smiled. "As long as I can have your body, that's more than enough." I lifted the glass, swirled the deep red liquid once, and walked toward her. Each step deliberate, measured, the way a predator moves before it strikes. She turned to face me, and I watched her jaw tighten. Those magazine-cover cheekbones, that porcelain skin, the eyes that had earned her the nickname Ice Queen across every society page in the city, all of it perfectly composed. But I caught it, that flicker, that microsecond of confusion. She'd expected rage, maybe tears. At the very least, some pathetic demand to know why she'd say something so cruel on our wedding night. She didn't know me at all. Serafina. I stopped inches from her, close enough to catch the scent of her perfume, something woody and expensive, mixed with the faint trace of champagne from the reception. "You seem to have forgotten something." Her eyes met mine, defiant, calculating. "This marriage of ours." I let the words hang in the air. "It's a transaction. Nothing more." In a transaction, talking about hearts is a luxury neither of us can afford. I watched my reflection in her pupils, a man in a tailored Tom Ford tuxedo, dark hair swept back, smile sharper than the cufflinks at his wrists. A man who looked nothing like the hungry, orphan teenager who'd once scrubbed floors in a university lab just to stay close to the only person who'd ever believed in him. Lucian Liu. She spat my name like it left a bitter taste. "Remember what you just said. Burn it into your memory." "Of course." I took a sip of wine, letting the tannins bite the back of my throat. "I have an excellent memory." I turned away from her and walked to the window. Below us, the city sprawled in all its neon and noise, Shanghai on steroids, a skyline that screamed ambition and old money in equal measure. To everyone out there, I was the luckiest man alive. The Liu family's new son-in-law. The nobody who'd climbed into bed with a dynasty and woken up a prince. A classic rags-to-riches story, the kind journalists drooled over. That's what they saw. That's what I wanted them to see. I felt her glare drilling into the back of my skull until I heard the bathroom door click shut. The sound of running water followed. I set down my glass. The smile slid off my face like a mask being peeled away. From the inside pocket of my jacket, I pulled out a fountain pen.
Old. Worn.
The black lacquer had faded in spots, and the gold clip was scratched down to the brass underneath. A piece of junk, by anyone's estimation. My thumb traced the 2 letters engraved on the barrel. Whitey. Yorktang. A name the world had been forced to forget. A name the Yuanqing Group, the Su family empire, had buried under lies, lawsuits, and a fire that had consumed everything, including the man himself. The bathroom water stopped. I slipped the pen back into my pocket, pressing it against my chest, right where my heart used to be. Serafina emerged in a cloud of steam, wrapped in a fresh robe, her hair damp and dark against her shoulders.
She didn't look at me.
She crossed to the bed, pulled back the covers on the far side, and slid in with her back turned. A wall of silk and unspoken contempt. Not a word, not a glance, like sharing a bed with a ghost. I stripped off my jacket, loosened my tie, killed the overhead lights. The bedside lamp cast the room in amber shadows. When I lay down beside her, I could smell the soap on her skin. Something clean, simple, completely at odds with everything else about this woman. Under the sheets, her body had gone rigid, stone stiff, the kind of tension you couldn't fake. "Don't forget what you promised my father." Her voice cut through the darkness, muffled by the pillow. I turned toward her. What was that? The Qingyang Project. Within 1 year. Impatience edged every syllable. Then we get divorced. Relax. I shifted closer, close enough to feel the heat radiating off her despite the wall she'd tried to build. I want out of this ridiculous marriage even more than you do. I reached out and pulled her against me. Her entire body locked up. Every muscle, every breath. Lucian.
Sure.
I let my lips brush her ear, my voice dropping to something almost tender, almost dangerous. The night is young, Mrs. Liu. We should do what married couples do. After all, I felt her pulse hammering against my arm. I only agreed to this wedding for your body. Breakfast the next morning could have been served with a side of cyanide, and no one would have noticed the difference. The dining table stretched long enough to land a helicopter. Crystal chandeliers. Fresh flowers that probably cost more than my first car. Servants gliding around like they were on rails, eyes down, faces blank. At the head of the table sat my new father-in-law, Sebastian Su, chairman of Yuanxing Group, dressed in a tailored Mandarin collared jacket, spooning bird's nest soup into his mouth with the slow, deliberate rhythm of a man who'd never been rushed in his life. Every movement broadcast power. Old money. The kind of authority you couldn't buy, you had to be born into it. Beside him, his wife, Vivian Liu, 40-something, but preserved like a museum piece. Her eyes swept over me the way you'd inspect a second-hand car you'd been pressured into buying. Calculating the defects. Tallying the disappointments. Serafina sat next to me, nibbling a piece of dry toast, her attention fixed somewhere in the middle distance. She'd barely spoken since we'd come downstairs. Lucian. Sebastian set down his spoon with a soft clink. Dad. I put my chopsticks down instantly. Posture straight. Expression attentive. The perfect, dutiful son-in-law. Now that you've married Serafina, your family. He paused to lift his teacup, blowing gently across the surface. Family doesn't stand on ceremony. That little company you've been working for, time to put it behind you. You'll start at the group tomorrow. Inside, I was laughing. Outside, I arranged my face into something resembling overwhelmed gratitude. Dad, that's extremely generous. But I've been doing well where I am. I wouldn't want to cause you any inconvenience by showing up without experience. Inconvenience. Vivian's voice cut through the room like a blade. Quiet.
Precise. Deadly.
You're Sue now. Working at some third-rate startup that no one's ever heard of? What do you think that does to our reputation? Vivian. Sebastian shot her a warning look. She shrugged, unbothered, and returned to her breakfast. Her point had been made. Your mother's concern is valid, Sebastian continued, his tone softening. I won't throw you into the deep end. You'll start in marketing under Director Zhang. Learn the business from the ground up. Director Zhang. Mark Zhang. Sebastian's most loyal attack dog. A man who'd been with the company for 25 years and had the spine of a jellyfish when it came to his boss. They were putting me in a glass cage. Right where they could watch me. Of course, Dad. I'll follow your arrangements. I lower my head just enough to hide the flash in my eyes. Good. Sebastian nodded, satisfied. One more thing.
You're a husband now.
Serafina, she was spoiled growing up. She can be difficult. You'll need to be patient. I will, Dad. I promise. I turned to Serafina and gave her a smile so warm it could have melted steel. She didn't even glance at me. Transparent. I was completely transparent to her. The breakfast from hell finally ended when Sebastian left for the office. Vivian had a spa appointment with friends, but before she glided out, she cornered me in the hallway. Lucian.
Mom.
Is there something you need? I don't know how you managed to marry my daughter. She stepped close, voice dropping to a venomous whisper. And frankly, I don't care. But get this through your head. Her eyes were chips of ice. Know your place. Do what's expected of you. Don't get any ideas above your station. The Su family can lift you up overnight. She let the pause stretch. And We can destroy you just as fast. Mom. I kept my smile pleasant, warm even. I understand perfectly. She sniffed, satisfied, then click-clacked her way out in heels that cost more than most people's annual salary. The living room fell silent. Just me, Serafina, and a few servants who'd perfected the art of being invisible. Heard that. I walked over to where she sat scrolling through her phone. I leaned down, my mouth close to her ear. Your mother wants me to know my place. Then you should do exactly that. She finally looked at me, those beautiful eyes, empty of anything resembling warmth. Or what? I straightened up, amused. She'll destroy me? You seem to have forgotten what I said as well. Remind me. You can have my body, but you'll never have my heart. The same line, the same wall. She was clinging to it like a life raft, desperate to believe those words meant something. Desperate to prove that I was nothing to her. I've already answered that. My smile didn't waver. As for your heart, I let contempt drip into my voice. That kind of imaginary, worthless thing. Who would even want it? I turned and headed for the stairs. Stop. I paused. Looked back. Your things. Her voice was calm now. Controlled. Victorious. I had Mrs. Zhang move them to the west guest room. The words landed like a grenade. The servants exchanged glances. I caught one of them fighting back a smirk. Second day of marriage, and the new son-in-law had already been evicted from the master bedroom. If this got out, and it would, because servants talk, I'd be the laughingstock of every elite circle in the city. Serafina watched me, waiting for the explosion, waiting for the humiliation to crack my composure. I laughed. Sure. The west guest room? How's the lighting? I prefer rooms with good morning sun. The flicker of confusion on her face was almost worth the trouble. I didn't give her a chance to respond. I climbed the stairs, whistling, my footsteps light and unhurried. The portrait of a man without a care in the world. Only when I rounded the corner, out of sight, did I let the mask fall. My face went cold. Empty. You want to humiliate me, Serafina? Go ahead. Every move you make to push me away only proves how desperate you are. You need to convince yourself that this marriage means nothing. That's fine. The game has barely started. The west guest room was exactly as advertised. My single, battered suitcase sat in the corner like a homeless man who'd wandered into a five-star hotel. The room itself was immaculate. Walnut paneling, Italian linens, a view of the estate gardens that belonged on a postcard. The contrast was almost comical. I locked the door, opened the suitcase. Inside, a few changes of clothes, some technical manuals, and at the bottom, a small wooden box with a combination lock. I spun the digits. The lid opened with a soft click. A worn fountain pen, a faded photograph, and a thick folder labeled Qingyang Project in handwriting that made my chest tighten. I picked up the photo first. A young man, mid-20s, grinning at the camera, his arms slung around the shoulders of a skinny teenager who looked like he hadn't eaten a good meal in years. The teenager was me. The young man was Yorktang. My thumb brushed over his face. Bright eyes. An easy smile. The face of someone who believed the future held nothing but promise. He couldn't have known. Couldn't have imagined that within 5 years, he'd be dead. Disgraced. Branded a criminal and a fraud. Driven to a prison cell where he'd allegedly hung himself with a bedsheet. Allegedly. The official story was neat. Tidy. A tragedy wrapped in a cautionary tale about ambition and corruption. The truth was something else entirely. And the architect of that truth was Sebastian Su. My phone buzzed, yanking me back to the present. I put the photo away, closed the box, checked the caller ID before answering. Marcus. Arthur. The voice on the other end was warm, educated. The voice of a man who'd never raised it in anger. How's married life? Fantastic. I walked to the window. Below, I could see Serafina in the garden, sitting on a bench, phone pressed to her ear. Her face had softened into something I'd never seen before, a gentle smile, almost shy. She moved me to the guest room on night one. Marcus was silent for a moment. She's making this difficult? Difficult? I watched the woman below me laugh at something her caller said. It's perfect. Everything's going according to plan. Sebastian made his move at breakfast. Marketing department. Under Zhang. Predictable. The old fox wants you where he can see you. Let him watch. My voice dropped. He won't see a thing until it's too late. I hung up just as Serafina ended her call below. She stood, and as if sensing my gaze, looked up sharply. Our eyes met across the distance. I raised my hand in a cheerful wave. She scowled and stalked back into the house. That smile on her face, the one I'd never seen directed at me, I knew exactly who'd put it there. Paxton Pei, her precious, artistic genius. The struggling painter she'd been bankrolling through his European adventures. The man she actually wanted. Poor Paxton. So talented. So charming. So completely, utterly broke. I'd been watching him for months. His gambling debts. His affairs. His desperate scrambling to keep up appearances while his patron's daughter was being married off to someone else. He was Serafina's weakness. And weaknesses were meant to be exploited. That evening, I found her in the study. She was hunched over financial reports, a pair of reading glasses perched on her nose that made her look almost approachable. Almost human. Busy. She didn't look up. What do you want? Can't a husband check on his wife? I slid into the chair across from her desk. We're supposed to be newlyweds, remember? Madly in love. Disgustingly happy. Spare me. I'm serious. I leaned forward, lowering my voice conspiratorially. Think about it. We're living under your parents' roof. They're watching us. If your mother decides to check on us in the middle of the night and finds one of us in the master bedroom and the other in the guest wing, what do you think happens then? Her pen stopped moving. They'll assume I'm failing as a husband, which makes my life at the office harder, which makes it harder for me to deliver the Qingyang project. I let that sink in. No Qingyang project, no divorce. No divorce, and you can't run off to your precious Paxton in Europe. The color drained from her face with every word. You've been investigating me. Her voice was quiet, almost trembling. Investigating. I leaned back, the picture of casual innocence. I don't have that kind of free time. But this afternoon, I happened to see you in the garden, on the phone, smiling like that. I tilted my head. The only person who could make Serafina Sue smile like that. Well, it had to be the legendary Paxton Pei, didn't it? Lucian. She slammed her hands on the desk, shooting to her feet. What do you actually want? I rose slowly, walked around the desk, stopped close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. I want you to understand something. My voice was soft now, almost gentle. In this game we're playing, I'm not your enemy. I'm your ally. At least until the divorce. I straightened up, letting a smile play at the corners of my mouth. So, for the sake of our shared goal, what do you say I move back into the master bedroom tonight? The homecoming banquet was held at the most exclusive private club in the city. Crystal and gold. Champagne and caviar. The entire Sioux clan had turned out, along with business partners, society fixtures, and journalists who'd been carefully selected for their loyalty. I walked in with Serafina on my arm, both of us dressed like we'd stepped out of a magazine spread. She played her part beautifully, cool, elegant, the slightest hint of a smile that didn't reach her eyes. We accepted congratulations. We toasted. We performed. Brother-in-law, congratulations. A slick young man in an aggressively tailored suit shouldered through the crowd toward us. Simon Sue, son of Sebastian's younger brother. The family embarrassment. Marrying my cousin. You've really hit the jackpot. A fairy tale come true. His tone dripped with condescension. The people around him snickered. Thank you, Simon. I kept my smile steady. I heard you used to work at some tiny company? What was it called? Startup? Something like that. He waved his champagne glass vaguely.
Well, none of that matters now.
You're at Yuanxing Group, a real company. Try not to embarrass us, yeah? Serafina's arm tensed under my hand. Her face had gone stony. Simon. My voice was pleasant. Conversational. Serafina's mentioned you. Said you've been doing excellent work in the procurement department. He blinked, thrown off balance. The last thing he'd expected was a compliment. Well, I thank you. There is one thing, though. I took a thoughtful sip of champagne. I heard about some trouble with a shipment. German equipment stuck in customs. Something about incorrect declarations. Simon's face went gray. That shipment's been sitting at the port for 3 weeks. Storage fees alone must be astronomical by now. Your father must be furious. How do you know about that? Just office gossip. I pulled out an old fountain pen and a napkin, scribbling something down. But I used to handle this kind of thing at my old job. Customs clearance, regulatory issues. I know a guy who might be able to help. I slid the napkin across to him. Give him a call. Be polite. He's a little eccentric. The mocking audience had gone very quiet. Simon stared at the napkin like it might bite him. His hand trembled as he picked it up. We're family, after all. I clapped him on the shoulder. Family helps each other. I'm sure you'll return the favor someday. I steered Serafina away before he could respond. When we were out of earshot, she glanced at me sideways. How did you know about that shipment? And since when do you have connections in customs? An excellent negotiator never reveals his sources. She rolled her eyes, but something in her expression had shifted. A tiny crack in the ice. Across the room, I caught Sebastian watching us. His eyes were unreadable.
Calculating.
I raised my glass to him with a smile. Enjoy the show, old man. It's only going to get better. Halfway through the banquet, I excused myself to the restroom. In the empty corridor, I made a call. It's done, I said when Marcus picked up. Simon took the bait. And the customs issue? Already handled. His shipment will clear tomorrow. He'll think I'm a miracle worker. Careful. You're making yourself useful to the wrong people. That's exactly what I want. I checked my reflection in a gilded mirror. The man looking back at me was a stranger in a $10,000 suit. Simon's weak. Greedy. Desperate for approval. He'll be eating out of my hand within a month. And when he's no longer useful? I smiled at my reflection. It wasn't a nice smile. Then I'll discard him, like all the others. Marcus paused. There's something else. Our mutual friend Paxton. He's been making some interesting financial moves lately. Borrowing heavily. Desperate for capital. For what? Unclear. But if I had to guess, he's trying to buy something expensive. Something that would impress the Sue family. I thought of the upcoming charity auction. The Heart of the Ocean sapphire. Vivian Liu's favorite designer. Paxton's transparent attempt to buy his way into the family's good graces. Let him try, I said. In fact, let's make sure he fails spectacularly. My first week at Yuanxing Group's marketing department was an exercise in controlled isolation. Director Zhang, call me Mark, greeted me with professional warmth and absolutely no substance. He gave me nothing. No projects. No responsibilities. Just industry reports to read and meeting minutes to file. The rest of the department followed his lead. They were polite.
Distant.
They knew I was the chairman's son-in-law, the crown prince in waiting, but they also knew I wasn't trusted. So they did what corporate survivors always do. They watched, they waited, and they kept their distance. I didn't mind. Every day, I sat at my desk and studied. Organizational charts, product lines, market data, the company's entire architecture, laid bare for anyone patient enough to look. I was looking for weaknesses, and I found them. On Thursday afternoon, a mid-level manager named Tom Wong approached my desk looking like he'd swallowed broken glass. Arthur.
He was sweating.
I have a situation. Tom explained that he was supposed to present a joint marketing proposal to Phoenix International next week, Yuanxing's biggest competitor. A high-stakes meeting that could shift market share by millions. but a family emergency meant he had to take leave. I've already drafted the proposal. You just need to polish it and present. Director Zhang is traveling, so
he was dumping it on me.
The unwanted son-in-law. The man everyone expected to fail. Sounds simple enough, I said. Send me the file. The relief on his face was almost comical. He handed me a USB drive and practically fled. I plugged it in. Opened the presentation. It looked fine. Professional. Thorough. Then I checked the data. The user growth numbers were wrong. Not slightly off, deliberately manipulated. If I presented this as is, Phoenix International would tear me apart. And Sebastian Su would have exactly the excuse he needed to label me incompetent. Someone was setting me up. I smiled. Finally. Something interesting. I deleted Tom's file and started from scratch. For the next 4 days, I buried myself in the company archives. I pulled 3 years of marketing data, cross-referenced, analyzed, rebuilt the entire proposal from the ground up. In the process, I found something far more valuable than presentation slides. Yuanqing's marketing department was rotten. Fake vendors, inflated invoices, kickbacks flowing to shell companies owned by the department's senior managers. Tom Wong's rigged data was just the tip of a very deep, very dirty iceberg. The man at the center of it all? Deputy Director Sunday, whose brother-in-law happened to own the largest advertising vendor on Yuanqing's books. Monday morning, the conference room was packed. Sebastian Su himself attended, flanked by marketing senior leadership. Phoenix International sent their VP and a team of analysts. The tension in the room could have been cut with a knife. All eyes turned to me as I walked to the podium. I plugged in my USB. The title slide appeared. Breakthrough. Renewal. Winning the future. Someone in the back stifled a laugh. I ignored it. Good afternoon. Before I begin, I'd like everyone to look at some data. I clicked to my first slide. A complex chart filled the screen. This is Yuanqing Group's marketing spend versus actual conversion rates over the last 3 years. As you can see, our spending has increased by over 30% annually. But our conversion rate, I let the silence stretch, has steadily declined. The smirks faded. People leaned forward. Someone might argue that the market has become more competitive. Customer acquisition costs are rising across the board. That sounds reasonable. I clicked again. Except here's Phoenix International's data over the same period. Their spending growth was lower than ours. Their conversion rates held steady and even improved slightly. Now I had everyone's attention. Same market, same customer base, radically different results. Why? I didn't wait for an answer. Because our money isn't being spent on marketing. The room went dead silent. I advanced to the next slide. A company name appeared, Genesis Media. Genesis Media has been our largest advertising vendor for 3 years. Over 60% of our ad budget flows through them. Their legal representative is a man named David Lee. I turned to Deputy Director Sunday. The man had gone the color of old paper. Mr. Lee is your brother-in-law, isn't he? Sun opened his mouth. Nothing came out. I'm not finished. I clicked through slide after slide. Inflated invoices, forged receipts, signatures matching marketing department managers, a paper trail of fraud that stretched back years. And here's the interesting part. Every single one of these forged documents was approved by someone in this room. The silence was absolute. Enough. Sebastian Su's voice cut through like a blade. He didn't look at his disgraced managers.
He looked at me.
His expression was unreadable, but beneath the calm, I saw it.
Shock.
Fury. And something else.
Fear.
Where did you get this information? Public records, Dad. I met his gaze, without flinching. Anyone with enough patience could find it. I just took the time to connect the dots. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he turned to his assistant. This meeting is over. We'll submit a revised proposal to Phoenix International within the week. The Phoenix VP gave me an appraising look as he gathered his things. Something close to respect. After they left, Sebastian rose. Sunday. My office.
Now.
The marketing executives filed out like condemned men. Deputy Director Sun shot me a look of pure hatred as he passed. I smiled back. When the room was empty, I stood alone, savoring the silence. Round one was mine. I hadn't just avoided their trap. I'd exposed it. I'd proven that I wasn't some compliant puppet they could control. More importantly, I'd planted a splinter under Sebastian Su's skin. Something he couldn't ignore. Something that would fester. That night, Sebastian didn't come home. Vivian called me instead.
Her voice was strange.
Guarded. Lucian, I heard what happened today.
Mom, it was nothing.
Just doing my job. I'm not criticizing you.
She paused.
You did well. Sebastian, he hates corruption more than anything. You've done him a service. I only want to help the family. Good. Another pause. But be careful. The company is full of alliances you don't understand. You've made enemies today. I understand, Mom. Thank you for your concern. I hung up, surprised. Vivian Liu, who despised me on sight, had just given me something close to approval. In the Su household, I was learning there were no permanent enemies. Only permanent interests. Serafina was waiting in the living room when I got home. My father must be furious. Probably. You embarrassed him in front of Phoenix International. You exposed his department's corruption. He's going to want to destroy you. Maybe. I sat down beside her. Or maybe he's trying to figure out how to handle me. Killing me would be wasteful. I've just proven I'm useful. But burying me somewhere I can't cause trouble? That's risky too. If I could uncover marketing secrets in 1 week, what else might I find? I stretched my arms along the back of the sofa. He's stuck. And he knows it. Serafina studied me. Really studied me. For the first time since we'd met, there was something other than cold contempt in her eyes. Lucian. Have I been underestimating you? I grinned. Catching on a little late, aren't you? She rolled her eyes and stood to leave. One more thing. I caught her wrist. Next weekend. Charity auction. You're coming with me. I don't do charity galas. Paxton will be there. She froze. He's back in the country. Didn't he tell you? I let fake surprise color my voice. I assumed you two were in constant contact. The flash of hurt in her eyes was genuine. Paxton hadn't told her. She was finding out from me, her fake husband. Why is he back? The heart of the ocean necklace. He seems very interested in it. Almost like he's planning to buy it. Her expression flickered. That necklace was her mother's favorite designer's final work. Paxton couldn't afford it, which meant he was planning something stupid.
Fine, she said.
I'll go. She pulled free and walked away, but I'd already seen what I needed to see. The first crack in her perfect image of Paxton Pay. It would only grow wider from here. The charity gala was a symphony of wealth and pretense. Crystal chandeliers. Live string quartet. Women draped in diamonds that could fund small countries. Men whose watches cost more than houses. The air thick with perfume, ambition, and the particular brand of desperation that only the truly rich could afford. I walked in with Serafina on my arm, and the room turned to look. She wore midnight blue. Off the shoulder. A slit that revealed exactly enough. The Ice Queen had arrived, and every man in the room was wondering the same thing. How had a nobody like me landed her? The women were wondering something else. Who was I, really? That's him. Lucian Liu. The one who took down marketing. I heard he did it in 1 week. And he paid over $1 million for a necklace at the auction last month. Where did he get that kind of money? Apparently, he had a company before. Made a fortune. The Su family didn't just pick him off the street. The rumors swirled. I let them. We found a table in a quiet corner. I'd barely sat down when a figure in an immaculate white suit approached. Serafina. The voice was honey and longing. Paxton Pay looked exactly like his photographs, handsome in a soft, almost pretty way. The kind of face that made women want to protect him. Serafina stiffened beside me. Paxton. When did you get back? A few days ago. I wanted to surprise you. His eyes flicked to me, to my hand resting on Serafina's arm. Something ugly flashed behind his smile before vanishing. But it seems you're the one with surprises. You must be, Arthur. I've heard so much about you. I stood and shook his hand with excessive warmth. Paxton, Serafina talks about you constantly. A once-in-a-generation artistic talent. I can see it. You have the aura of a true artist. Both of them blinked. Paxton had clearly expected hostility. Serafina looked like she'd swallowed a bug. You're too kind, Paxton managed. Not at all. I waved dismissively. So, you're back for good? Planning to conquer the domestic art scene. That's the dream. He puffed up slightly. I have a business plan for a gallery. Something that would revolutionize how contemporary art is presented here. I'm currently seeking investors. Fascinating. You should send me the proposal. Serafina, and I would love to help however we can. Paxton's smile widened, all teeth and triumph. He thought he'd just played me. The clueless husband, so eager to please his wife that he'd fund her lover's dreams. I'd be honored, he said. He excused himself shortly after, practically floating toward the bar. Serafina rounded on me the moment he was gone. What the hell was that? What was what? You told him you'd invest. You told him you'd help. Isn't he your special friend? I made air quotes. I'm just looking out for your happiness. Consider it an investment in our divorce timeline. You. The auction's starting. I patted her hand. Let's watch the show. The Heart of the Ocean came up as the final lot. A magnificent sapphire. Deep blue, almost violet at the edges. The late designer Anna's final masterpiece. 800,000 starting bid. Paxton raised his paddle immediately. 850. He'd dressed for this moment. Practiced it in the mirror. The struggling artist, boldly claiming a treasure for his beloved. An older man in the front row countered. 900. Paxton. 920. Back and forth. The price climbed past $1 million. Paxton's forehead gleamed with sweat. His bids came slower. At $1 million even, the older man bid with casual indifference. Paxton's hand trembled on his paddle. He could go higher, but barely. I'd seen his financial records. He was already drowning. He lowered his paddle. 1 million, going once, going twice. 1.2 million. Every head in the room swiveled toward me, including Serafina's. Her mouth fell open. Are you insane? She hissed. The older bidder considered for a moment, then shook his head.
Sold.
To Mr. Lucian Liu. Scattered applause. Confused whispers. Paxton's face had curdled into something ugly. After the auction, I collected the velvet box. Serafina was waiting for me, arms crossed, expression murderous. What are you doing? Giving you a gift. I opened the box. The sapphire caught the light like captured ocean. Do you like it? I don't want it. Why not? It's beautiful. It suits you. You knew Paxton wanted it. You did this to humiliate him. I did this because he wanted it. I closed the box and looked at her. And you're my wife. The man you actually want doesn't get to buy you jewelry. I do. You're insane. Maybe. I pressed the box into her hands. But until our divorce is finalized, you belong to me. Not him. Paxton approached before she could respond, his composure pasted back together. Impressive, Arthur. 1.2 million. You must really love her. I do. I didn't look away from Serafina as I said it. She's worth every penny. Although, I finally turned to Paxton. I noticed you stopped bidding. Cash flow issues?
Such a shame.
That necklace would have been the perfect gift for my mother-in-law, don't you think? She adored Anna's work. Paxton's smile froze. What do you mean? Nothing. I clapped his shoulder. Just an observation. You know, trying to impress the Sue family is natural, but you should know your limits. Some mountains are too high to climb. I took Serafina's arm. Enjoy the rest of your evening, Paxton. We left him standing there, his mask crumbling. In the car, Serafina was silent. She held the jewelry box in her lap, like it might explode. Those things you said to him.
True.
Every word. You humiliated him. I showed you who he really is. A man who tried to buy your mother's affection with money he doesn't have. A man who didn't even tell you he was back in the country. She had no answer for that. The silence stretched. But it wasn't the cold silence of our wedding night. It was something more fragile. Something that might, given time, become understanding. Or it might shatter completely. Either way, I'd won tonight. And Paxton Pay was no longer a threat. The next morning, Sebastian summoned me to his study. He was waiting behind his desk, a single sheet of paper in front of him. The reimbursement request for the auction. $1.2 million. He slapped it with his palm. Lucian, you've been busy. His voice was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that preceded earthquakes. Dad, I can explain. You humiliated me in front of Phoenix International. You tore apart my marketing department. And now you spend over $1 million of company money on a necklace, parading around like some kind of newly rich tycoon. What exactly are you playing at? Dad. I took a breath. Everything I've done has been for this family. Explain. The marketing department was corrupt. You knew it. You just needed someone with nothing to lose to clean it out. That was me. I watched his expression. Nothing. But he didn't deny it. As for the necklace, I bought it because Paxton Pay wanted it. His eyes narrowed. Paxton. He's been circling Serafina for years. He came back to the country specifically to use this auction to buy favor with you and Mom. He wanted to give that necklace to Vivian. And you stopped him. I stopped him from using a gift to manipulate this family. I also made it very clear, in front of everyone, that Serafina is my wife. I protect what's mine. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a bank card, placed it on the desk. There's $10 million in this account. My personal savings. The password is Serafina's birthday. The auction money was always going to come from me. I never intended to use company funds. Consider the necklace my wedding gift to your daughter. Sebastian stared at the card. The remaining $200,000 I owe, I'll transfer within the week. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, he picked up the reimbursement form and tore it in half. Keep your money.
His voice had changed.
The anger was gone, replaced by something more calculating. I misjudged you, Lucian. You have more spine than I expected. More resourcefulness. He stood and walked to the window. I'm creating a new division. Project Qingyang. Full restart. You'll head it. Unlimited budget. 1 year. I don't care how you do it, just get it done. The words I'd been waiting to hear for 10 years. Thank you, Dad. I kept my voice steady, added just the right amount of eagerness. I won't let you down. I walked out of his study with my pulse hammering against my ribs. Qingyang Project. The project that had killed Yerk Tang. The project Sebastian had stolen, built his empire on, buried under lies and blood. He was handing it back to me. The fox was finally showing his throat. The new division occupied the entire top floor of Yuanqing Tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A view that stretched to the horizon. My office was next to Sebastian's, separated by a single wall. A gilded cage. Right where he could watch me. I didn't care. The first thing I did was request every archived document related to the original Qingyang project. Box after box of files. Witness statements. Technical reports. The official investigation. 10 years of dust and lies. I locked myself in my office for 3 straight days. Barely slept. Barely ate. I went through every page. Cross-referenced. Reconstructed. The official story was clean. Simple. Yerk Tang, the project lead, had been rushing to meet deadlines. He'd cut corners, accepted substandard equipment from a vendor who'd paid him kickbacks. The faulty equipment caused an explosion. Multiple deaths. Tang was convicted, imprisoned, and had committed suicide shortly after. Sebastian Su, then the deputy lead, had heroically managed the crisis. He'd taken over the company. built it into an empire. Every piece fit, every detail accounted for. Except it was all lies. York Tang was the most principled man I'd ever known. He'd taken me in when I was an orphan teenager with nothing. Fed me, educated me, taught me that science wasn't just a career, it was a calling, a sacred trust. He would never have taken a bribe, never have cut corners on safety. Someone had framed him, and the only person who'd benefited was Sebastian Su. I built my team carefully. I recruited engineers who'd been sidelined, analysts who'd been passed over, people with talent and grudges, the most productive combination I knew. At our first meeting, I looked around the table at the faces of the discarded and the overlooked. The Qingyang project has a reputation.
Cursed. Poisoned.
Most people in this company are afraid to touch it.
Nods.
Grim expressions. I'm not. And neither are you, or you wouldn't be here. I leaned forward. Here's what I believe. Science isn't cursed. Projects aren't poisoned. The only poison in this company was the people who sabotaged this project a decade ago. They're gone. We're still here. I'm giving you 1 year, unlimited resources, and a promise. If we succeed, everyone in this room will be rewarded beyond anything this company has ever offered. Are you with me? The response was immediate, unanimous,
loud.
My army was assembled. After the meeting, Simon Su slipped into my office like the weasel he was. Brother-in-law, congratulations on the promotion. Quite the step up. What do you want, Simon? He grinned. I was hoping you might have a spot for me. Procurement is so boring. Your project sounds exciting. I don't need dead weight. I'm not dead weight. He looked genuinely wounded. I know people. I hear things. Information flows through me like water through a sieve. If you ever needed to know something about anyone, I could. He waggled his eyebrows. I pretended to consider it.
Fine.
But you work. You follow my rules. And if I catch you running any of your usual schemes, you're out. Understood? Absolutely. Completely. You won't regret this. I pulled out a file and tossed it to him. The original Qingyang project vendor list. I want a complete background report on every supplier.
Who owned them?
Who worked there? Where they are now. Everything. Simon's face fell. This is 10 years old. Half these companies don't exist anymore. Then find out what happened to them. You said you were good at finding things. Prove it. He left looking slightly ill. I turned to my window and watched the city below. The game board was set. My pieces were in motion. And somewhere in the archives, buried under a decade of carefully constructed lies, was the truth about what Sebastian Su had done. I was going to find it, and when I did, I was going to destroy him. Weeks blurred into months. I worked 18-hour days, slept at the office more often than not. The Qingyang project consumed everything, the technical challenges, the regulatory hurdles, the delicate dance of managing a team that had been assembled from the company's rejects. But slowly, impossibly, we made progress. We rebuilt York Tang's original experimental platform. We reran his data, corrected the errors that had been deliberately introduced into the official record. We identified the flaws in the equipment that had caused the explosion, not operator error, not corner cutting, but a deliberate substitution of substandard components. The more I uncovered, the clearer the picture became. Sebastian hadn't just exploited an accident. He'd orchestrated it. Not the explosion itself, that had been an unintended consequence. But the sabotage, the equipment failure, the frame job that followed, all of it traced back to him. I just needed proof. Simon delivered it on a rainy Tuesday. He burst into my office without knocking, his face flushed with excitement. I found him. Found who? William Liu, the former procurement director, the one who handled all the Qingyang project suppliers. He retired right after the accident and disappeared. Everyone assumed he was dead. I straightened up slowly. Where is he?
Brazil.
Has a nice little ranch out there. New name. New passport. Living the good life. Who else knows?
No one. Just me.
He grinned, proud of himself. Told you I was useful. I stared at the file he handed me. William Liu. The man who'd signed off on the equipment that killed York Tang. The man who'd vanished with his entire family weeks after the explosion. Sebastian's accomplice. Simon.
My voice was very calm.
I need you to do something for me. Something that requires absolute discretion. Anything. I need you to send this man a message. The message was simple. An anonymous tip to Brazilian tax authorities about unexplained wealth, followed by leaks to local media about a Chinese fugitive living under a false identity. Then trouble with his children's schools, his wife's social circle, small things that snowballed into an avalanche. Within 3 weeks, William Liu's comfortable life had crumbled. And then came the final message. A single email from an untraceable address. Asterisk, wanna survive? Come home. Tell the truth. We can protect you. Asterisk. Or stay and lose everything. He called the number I'd provided within hours. I met him at a warehouse by the docks. Abandoned.
Dark.
The kind of place where secrets had been traded for centuries. William Liu shuffled in, a broken man in a cheap suit. 10 years of guilt and fear had carved deep lines into his face. Who are you? His voice cracked. Someone who wants the truth. I circled him slowly. Tell me about the Qingyang project. Tell me about Sebastian Su. Tell me about the equipment that killed York Tang. I don't know what you're. My people are with your family right now. In a very comfortable hotel. Whether they stay comfortable depends entirely on you. He broke. They always do.
Please.
Please don't hurt them. I'll tell you everything.
And he did.
Sebastian had approached him 6 months before the explosion. Sebastian had arranged for the defective equipment, swapped through a shell company owned by Liu's brother-in-law. The plan was simple, cause a minor incident. Something that would embarrass York Tang. Get him removed from the project. Clear the path for Sebastian to take over. But the equipment had been worse than they'd realized. The minor incident became a catastrophic explosion. 3 dead. A dozen injured. The project in ruins. And then he made it all go away, Liu whispered. He found a scapegoat for the equipment, some warehouse manager who'd do anything for money. He buried the evidence, framed Tang, and paid us all to disappear. One more question. I leaned close. York Tang's death. In prison. Was it really suicide? Liu's face went gray. Sebastian was afraid Tang would talk. Would convince someone to reopen the investigation. So Liu couldn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. I straightened up. The recording device in my pocket had captured every word. You're going to testify.
Publicly.
When the time comes. Testify?
He'll kill me.
He'll kill my family. Sebastian Su will never touch you or your family again. My voice was ice. I promise you that. The breakthrough came 3 months later. Our team cracked the final technical barrier. The same problem that had stalled the original Qingyang project, we solved it. Not just solved it, but improved upon it. The new system was safer, more efficient, and cheaper than anything York Tang had envisioned. When I presented the results to Sebastian, his eyes lit up with naked greed. This is it. This is what we've been waiting for. He was already calculating the profits, the stock price, the prestige. We'll announce it at a press conference. Full media. I want the world to see what Yuanqing Group is capable of. Of course, Dad. Whatever you think is best. He didn't notice the edge in my voice. Didn't see the trap closing around him. The press conference was scheduled for Friday at the Grand Pacific Hotel. Every major outlet would be there. Sebastian had personally invited business leaders, politicians, celebrities. He wanted an audience for his coronation. The night before, Serafina found me in the study. Lucian, what are you planning? I looked up from my notes. She stood in the doorway, arms wrapped around herself. She looked scared. What do you mean? Tomorrow. The press conference. You're going to do something, aren't you? Something to my father. I set down my pen. Why would you think that? Because I'm not stupid. She crossed the room, and sat across from me. I've watched you for months. The way you look at him. The way you've been digging into the old project files. The investigators you've hired. Her voice trembled. You've been building something. Something against him. I said nothing. Lucian. She reached across the desk and grabbed my hand.
Please.
Whatever you're planning, don't. Don't. The word came out harsher than I intended. You want me to just let it go? After what he did? I don't know what he did, but he's still my father. Whatever he's done, destroying him will destroy our entire family. Everyone who works for us. Thousands of innocent people. She was crying now. The Ice Queen, melting in front of me. And I thought. She swallowed. I thought maybe we could. Could what? My voice was rough. I don't know. Something. Something real. The words hung between us. I know about Yerk Tang, she whispered. I know he was your teacher. I know what he meant to you. And I know my father. My father isn't a good man. But I don't want to lose you. Something cracked inside my chest. I stood abruptly, turning away so she couldn't see my face. Serafina, go to bed. Lucian.
Please.
Just go. I heard her stand. Heard her footsteps hesitate at the door. Whatever happens tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
For everything. The door clicked shut. I stood alone in the dark, fists clenched, every cell in my body screaming. The press conference was everything Sebastian had dreamed of. Reporters packed the hall. Cameras lined the walls. The stage glowed under professional lighting. A banner behind the podium read, Yuanqing Group, powering the future. Sebastian spoke first. He was magnificent, the elder statesman, the visionary leader, the father of modern energy innovation. He talked about legacy, about responsibility, about the bright future that the Qingyang project would bring. The audience applauded on cue. Then it was my turn. I walked to the podium in a black suit. No notes. No slides. Just me and the microphone and 200 people who had no idea what was coming. Good afternoon. My voice echoed through the hall. I'm here today to talk about the Qingyang project, about what it means, and about what was sacrificed to bring it to this moment. Sebastian, seated behind me, shifted slightly. A flicker of unease crossed his face. 10 years ago, a brilliant scientist named Yerk Tang led the original Qingyang project. He was a visionary, a man of integrity, a man who believed that clean energy could change the world. I paused. He was also my teacher, my mentor, the man who saved my life when I had nothing and no one. A murmur rippled through the audience. This wasn't in the script. 10 years ago, Yerk Tang was convicted of corruption and negligence. He was blamed for an explosion that killed 3 people and injured many more. He died in prison.
Disgraced.
His name became a warning, a symbol of what happens when ambition overcomes ethics. But that story is a lie. The murmur became a roar. Lucian, Sebastian's voice behind me.
Sharp. Panicked.
I ignored him. The explosion wasn't caused by Yerk Tang's negligence. It was caused by defective equipment that had been deliberately substituted for the approved components. The substitution was ordered by someone who wanted Yerk Tang removed from the project. Someone who stood to gain everything if Yerk Tang fell. I clicked a remote. The screen behind me lit up with documents. Bank records. Internal memos. William Liu's sworn statement. That person was Sebastian Su. The room exploded. Lies. Sebastian lunged to his feet. This is insane. Security. But no one moved. Every person in that room was frozen, cameras rolling, recording everything. Sebastian Su conspired with procurement director William Liu to sabotage the Qingyang project. When the sabotage caused a disaster far worse than intended, he covered it up. He framed an innocent man. He paid witnesses to lie. And when Yerk Tang continued to protest his innocence from prison, Sebastian Su had him murdered and made it look like suicide. I turned to face my father-in-law. Am I wrong? Sebastian's face was ashen. His mouth opened, and closed. No words came. William Liu is currently in protective custody. He's provided a full confession. We also have the testimony of the warehouse manager who is paid to perjure himself, and the financial records linking everything back to Sebastian Su's personal accounts. I turn back to the audience. The Qingyang project will go forward. It will be everything York Tang dreamed it could be, but it will not be built on lies. Not anymore. At the back of the hall, the doors opened. Police officers walked in. They headed straight for Sebastian Su. Sebastian Su, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and murder. He didn't resist. He just stared at me, confusion, rage, and something that might have been grudging respect all warring on his face. Who are you? He whispered as they cuffed him. Who the hell are you? I leaned close so only he could hear. I'm the student you forgot to kill. They led him away. The room was chaos, reporters shouting, cameras flashing, people on their phones. But I was barely aware of any of it. I walked off the stage through a side door and kept walking until I was outside. The city noise washed over me. Traffic. Sirens. The distant wail of news helicopters already circling. 10 years. 10 years of planning. Of waiting. Of becoming someone I hated, so I could destroy someone I hated more. And now it was done. I should have felt triumphant. Victorious.
Free.
Instead, I just felt empty. I went to the cemetery. York Tang's grave was modest. A simple stone with his name and dates. No epitaph. No acknowledgement of what he'd accomplished. The world had spent a decade believing he was a disgrace. I knelt in front of it and placed the old fountain pen on the grass. It's done. They know the truth now. Your name will be cleared. My voice broke. I'm sorry it took so long. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. The tears I've been holding back for a decade finally came. I let them. I don't know how long I knelt there. Long enough for the sun to shift. Long enough for my legs to go numb. Footsteps behind me.
Light.
Hesitant. I didn't turn. I thought I'd find you here. Serafina's voice was raw. She'd been crying too. She knelt beside me and placed her own flowers on the grave. White lilies. York's favorite. I'm sorry, she whispered to the headstone. For everything my father did. For everything my family took from you. We stayed there together, side by side, not speaking. Finally, she turned to me. What happens now? I don't know. I stared at the grave. I spent 10 years working toward this moment. I never planned what came after. The company is in chaos. The board is panicking. Everyone's looking to you. I'm not interested in the company. It's yours now. Or it could be. You're the only one who can hold it together. I finally looked at her. Her eyes were red, but her jaw was set. The Ice Queen had steel beneath the frost. Lucian. She took my hand. Stay. Help me fix this. Help me build something good out of all this wreckage. Serafina. The Qingyang project was your dream too. York's dream. You can't just walk away now. And us. The question hung between us. I know our marriage started as a transaction. Her voice was barely a whisper. I know you had your reasons. I know I was horrible to you. But somewhere along the way. She swallowed. Somewhere along the way, it stopped being fake. At least for me. I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman who'd told me on our wedding night that I could never have her heart. The woman who'd exiled me to the guest room. The woman who'd slowly, impossibly, become something other than my enemy. Do you remember what you said to me? The night we got married. Her face flushed. I was terrible. You said I could have your body, but never your heart. I was wrong. About which part? She met my eyes. Both. I pulled her to her feet. And there, in front of York Tang's grave, with the weight of 10 years finally lifting from my shoulders, I kissed my wife. Really kissed her. The way I'd been afraid to for months. The way I'd told myself I never would. She kissed me back. I stayed. The board appointed me interim CEO within a week. It was supposed to be temporary, just long enough to stabilize the company, to clean house, to weather the media storm. But weeks became months. The company didn't collapse. Under Serafina's leadership and my strategic direction, Yuanqing Group began to transform. We rooted out the corruption. We restructured around the Qingyang project. We turned a symbol of greed and betrayal into something hopeful. The stock price recovered. Then it climbed. Then it broke records. A year after Sebastian's arrest, the Qingyang project went fully operational. The technology York Tang had dreamed of, clean, efficient, accessible energy, was finally real. His name was on the patents. His face was on the commemorative plaque in the lobby. We made sure the world remembered who the real hero was. Sebastian's trial lasted 6 months. The evidence was overwhelming. He was convicted on all counts: fraud, conspiracy, multiple counts of murder. Life in prison. No possibility of parole. Serafina didn't attend the sentencing. She stayed home that day, sitting on the balcony, watching the sunset. I found her there when I got back. "It's over," I said, sitting beside her. "Do you hate me?"
She didn't look at me.
"For being his daughter?" "I could never hate you. I hated you at first. Did you know that? Really hated you. Because you looked at me like you could see right through me. Like none of my defenses worked on you. They didn't." She laughed, a small, fragile sound.
No.
"They really didn't." I put my arm around her.
She leaned into me.
"Lucian. I'm pregnant." The world stopped. I pulled back to look at her face. She was watching me nervously, waiting for my reaction. "Pregnant. About 2 months. I wanted to tell you sooner, but with the trial and everything." "Pregnant."
Yes.
"Pregnant. Are you going to keep repeating the word, or?" I kissed her. I couldn't help it. I kissed her until we were both breathless, until she was laughing and crying at the same time. "I love you," I said. I should have said it a long time ago. "I love you, Serafina." "I know." She pressed her forehead to mine. "I've known for a while. I was just waiting for you to catch up." Our son was born in early spring. We named him Christopher, a name that meant bearer of light. It felt right. York Tang's legacy wasn't just a technology or a company. It was a family, a future. The thing he'd always told me mattered more than any discovery or achievement. The years that followed were unexpected. Yuanqing Group thrived. Serafina and I built it into something neither of us could have imagined. An empire founded on clean energy, on ethical business, on the radical idea that you could be profitable without being predatory. We established the York Tang Foundation, scholarships for underprivileged students, grants for energy research, a permanent endowment to ensure that the next generation of brilliant minds wouldn't have to struggle the way York had, the way I had. The orphanage where Serafina had volunteered for years became our second home. We expanded it, modernized it, filled it with art and music and the things that make childhood bearable when everything else has been taken away. Christopher grew up there, surrounded by other children, learning early that family wasn't about blood. It was about showing up. It was about staying. On our 5th wedding anniversary, I took Serafina back to the restaurant where we'd had that disastrous dinner with Paxton. Same table, same view, completely different people sitting in those chairs. "Do you remember what you said to me?" I asked, refilling her wine glass. "On our wedding night? You can have my body, but never my heart." She smiled. I was so dramatic. "You were terrified."
Yes.
"That too." She reached across the table. "I thought if I could keep you at a distance, I could survive the marriage. I didn't know that I was so charming, that you were so stubborn, and kind, and wounded, and determined to do the right thing even when it cost you everything." "I wasn't kind. I was using you. At first, but not later." She squeezed my hand.
"You protected me."
"Even when you didn't have to. Even when it would have been easier not to. Old habits." "Liar." I laughed. She was right. Somewhere along the way, the mission had stopped being about revenge and started being about her. About us. About the family neither of us had ever really had. "I have a confession," I said. Another one? The first time I saw you, really saw you, was at York's funeral. Before I ever met your father. Before any of this was planned. She went very still. You were standing in the rain. Everyone else had umbrellas. You just stood there, getting soaked, crying. You didn't even know him.
Not really.
You'd been his student for 1 semester.
But you came.
You mourned him when the rest of the world was calling him a criminal. My voice had gone rough. That was the moment I knew. If there was any part of the Sue family worth saving, it was you. She was crying now, silent tears tracking down her cheeks. I married you for revenge. But I stayed for you. Only for you. Lucien. I love you. I've loved you since that day in the rain. I was just too broken to admit it. She came around the table and kissed me. Right there in the middle of the restaurant, with the other diners watching and the waiters pretending not to notice. I love you too, she whispered against my lips. You ridiculous, dramatic, impossible man. I love you. We went home that night to our son. To our house. To the life we'd built from the wreckage of 2 broken families. And in the morning, I woke up next to my wife, and the sun was coming through the windows, and somewhere in the city a foundation bearing York Tang's name was changing lives. Not the ending I'd planned. Better. Much, much better. Years later, long after the scandals had faded and the company had become something the world respected, a journalist asked me what I wanted my legacy to be. I thought about it. About York. About Serafina. About the son who would inherit everything we'd built. The truth, I said. Not the comfortable version. Not the one that makes us look good. The real truth. Because that's the only thing that lasts. The only thing that heals. The only thing worth leaving behind. The journalist looked confused. It wasn't the soundbite she'd wanted. But I wasn't talking to her. I was talking to the ghost who'd taught me everything. The man whose fountain pen I still carried in my pocket, even now. The man who'd believed in a starving orphan when no one else would. I was talking to York Tang. And for the first time in 20 years, I felt him smile.